Bob Woodward's explosive new book, Fear, undeniably gripping the White House. The president and his allies trying to attack the credibility of award-winning journalist Bob Woodward. CNN has spoken to at least a dozen former and current White House officials who tell us that they spoke to Woodward for his book. Joining us now to discuss this and much more about what's going on Capitol Hill, Independent Senator Angus King of Maine. Senator King, thank you so much for being with us. I want to talk about the Supreme Court confirmation process in just a moment, but I do want to get your reaction to what we've all seen and read over the last few days in this Bob Woodward book. It paints a picture of White House officials, again, mostly in their words, trying to protect the country from the president. There's an episode where Gary Cohn, former financial advisor to the president, steals papers off his desk. He says, I stole it off his desk. I won't let him see it. He's never going to see that document. Got to protect the country. What does it tell you that there are people close to the president that feel like they need to keep him from the country somehow?
John, I'm afraid I'm going to disappoint you because I spent most of last night preparing for an important Intelligence Committee hearing today on Russian interference in the election and also trying to figure out what kind of judge Brett Kavanaugh is going to be. So I obviously haven't read the book, haven't even looked at all the excerpts. I'm going to let you talk to other people, as you have been all morning, about that. But I'm trying to keep my head down and do my job right here.
I appreciate that very much. Or just before I go off this subject, Bob Woodward, you know, you certainly have read his work for a long time. I don't know if you know him or not, but any reason to doubt his reporting?
Well, he certainly, as Mark Short just said, he's a distinguished reporter, a serious journalist. The only thing I can tell you for sure is I didn't get interviewed for the book. So other than that, I think we're going to have to judge the book on its merits and see how those people who are mentioned in the book respond and add it to the canon of literature about this presidency.
I understand you're going to sit in the judiciary hearing today for the confirmation process of Judge Brett Kavanaugh. You weren't there yesterday. I am sure you had a chance to see what happened, particularly at the beginning of the hearing with Democratic maneuvering to try to get the hearing stalled. What did you make of that?
Well, you know, it was unfortunate the way it unfolded yesterday, but I really am sort of puzzled by the way this is being played out in terms of documents being produced. I was in Maine over the weekend, as I always am, talking to people, and people are starting to get suspicious. They're saying, why aren't they releasing documents? What are they worried that something's in the documents? Do they know that something's in the documents? I mean, we've got about 10% of all the material that this fellow had his hands on and wrote and produced, particularly during the period when he was in the Bush White House. And I don't think anybody watching us would do a job interview with somebody when you only had 10% of their resume and they said, well, I'm not going to show you the rest of it. It just, there's something fishy here, and it's the way the process is being rushed. I understand the frustration yesterday of the number of the senators, given 42,000 pages of documents less than 24 hours from the hearing. I mean, the whole thing is, it just, if you step back a minute, makes no sense. And what bothers me is this could be the precedent for future considerations of Supreme Court justices, and I think that's a real mistake. This is one of our fundamental responsibilities as advise and consent, and I don't see how we're supposed to be able to do it without the record.
Let me break this into two parts. First of all, on the issue of transparency. So when Chuck Grassley, the chairman of the committee, Orrin Hatch, who is a senior member on that committee, say this is the most transparent confirmation process they have ever seen, you're not buying it. They also say that what matters here is Brett Kavanaugh's judicial record, and you have a full record of the 300 cases that he decided on the appeals court.
I don't know if that's all that matters, because those 300 cases were the cases that happened to come before his court. They don't necessarily reflect the breadth of his judicial thinking. So I think you do need a broader record, and you particularly need, what was he thinking about, for example, presidential privilege, about torture, about detention, of all of those issues that arose during the Bush administration. How did he approach those? And this is our fundamental job, and I'm standing in the shoes of people of Maine who want to know, who is this guy? This is a 30-year appointment. this guy's position on this court is going to be here when most of us are long gone, and it's going to affect the country. Right. This isn't a member of the cabinet. This is a lifetime appointment, and therefore it's doubly important in my view.
Do you feel it was appropriate for the Democrats to try to slow down the hearing with as many interruptions as they had at the outset yesterday, that chaotic hour?
Well, I'm a guy that believes in civility, but they weren't being given a chance to make the case, and I think they had to raise this question. In my view, the hearing should have been postponed. What's the rush? What is it that they're trying to move through so fast? I've read credibly that Mitch McConnell warned the White House about Brett Kavanaugh because of the breadth of his record, because of the length of the time it was going to take to get all the materials together, and yet they appointed him anyway, but now they're starting to short-circuit the process by not producing all the information that I think we need in order to make a good decision.
So not only are you going to that hearing today, but there's also a hearing in your committee, as you noted, about social media and the elections, executives, Twitter, Facebook. They're going to testify in relation to foreign actions and use of their platforms to influence the elections. What questions do you think are the most important to ask here?
Well, I think the most important questions are how can the platforms navigate the First Amendment, free society, open information, as opposed to the misuse of their platforms as they were, we now know, in 2016 to inform the American people about an upcoming election. Our whole system is based upon information. The whole idea of democracy is that citizens can make decisions based upon information that they're given. If the information is distorted, incorrect, just outright lies, then we end up with not being able to make the right decision. So we need to understand and talk to these companies. I don't want to regulate the internet. I think that should be the last resort. The question is, what can the companies do to protect the integrity of their own platform? And I think that's what we're going to be talking about today. This is one of those rare congressional hearings where it's not rote and everybody doesn't know the answers and the members are going to just ask rote questions. We're really looking for information here, how we can protect the American democratic system going forward.
All right, you have a busy day ahead of you, Senator Angus King of Maine. Thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you, John.